Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our gentle yoga class. We're on the second of the niyamas. So I have a reading from the book by Deborah Adele, The Yamas and Niyamas. And the second niyama, part of yoga's ethical practices, is called Santosha, which means contentment. So I'll offer you to start to ground down in laying down on your back position. If you want to do a little bit of a lift for the heart center, maybe you take a rolled blanket and you can make a small or a big roll for underneath your heart center. And then we might bring the blocks down as well. So I like to use the blocks to help me get down onto the ground. Circle around and allow that blanket roll to rest right underneath the heart if that feels good. And you could cactus the arms or maybe rest the elbows on the blanket roll. Allow your hands to rest on your belly and either walk your feet as wide as the mat and allow the knees to tent together. Or another option would be to use the blocks. Bring the soles of the feet to touch, allow the knees to fall open, and then you could wedge blocks underneath the knees for a little reclined butterfly. We call that supta. That means on your back, Baddha Konasana, which is basically like a butterfly shape with the legs. Just take a moment to close down the eyes or soften the gaze, allowing yourself to rest heavy on the earth. Allow the earth to rise to support you. And see if you can soften and settle. You might think of all of the parts of you, your energy that might be scattered around. Can you call it back? Just like a jigsaw puzzle, putting yourself back together. Any parts that might be left in the past, left in other places. Maybe any thoughts that might be ruminating about the future. Bring it all back into the here and now. This is all we really have. It's just this moment right now. See if you can breathe into the heart center, expanding the heart in all different directions. Coming back to our own practice. As you inhale, you might imagine your heart center. It's just like a balloon. Allow it to expand in all directions. Feeling this increasing capacity. Increasing your capacity to feel love, to receive love, and to give love. And then our second niyama is called Santosha. And Santosha means contentment. And the niyamas are part of yoga's ethical practices. These are ways that that yoga suggests we cultivate our own inner world through purity, contentment, self-disciplined, self-study, and surrender. She says, in this country, wanting what we don't have has become a contagious plague. Rather than experiencing contentment, we can find ourselves busy getting ready for the next thing, tossed about by our preferences for what we like and what we don't like, and riding the waves of annoying disturbances. The jewel of Santosha invites us into contentment by taking refuge in a calm center, opening our hearts in gratitude for what we have, and practicing the paradox of not seeking. So if this jewel of Santosha speaks to you, you might use this today as an intention for your practice. If the blanket roll is feeling good on your back, you can leave it there, or you could always roll over to one side and toss it off to the side. If you're using a strap for your practice, maybe you hug your knees in towards your chest and wrap the strap around your shins. And then you can draw a nice big circle with the knees. This low back area we call the sacrum. And we can support our low back through strengthening our core. So we might do a little bit of core strengthening and then some stretching as well for the back. So go ahead and draw a circle in one direction. They also say this is part of the chakra system. So there's 7 chakras. These are energy centers in the body. And this low back area, the sacrum, is the sacral chakra, the second chakra. And this is where our emotional center might be, where our creativity lives. And so let's just allow ourselves to draw a nice gentle circle with the knees, massaging the low back, the sacrum. Let's see what comes up for you here. When you're ready, you can toss the strap off to the side. Keep the knees hovering over your hips, so your feet are off the ground, and then go ahead and bend the elbows. Draw the elbows towards the knees. So we're finding that strength in our core to help support the low back. So you can press your low back towards the mat, and you can stay right here, or you might float your left foot towards the sky, right fingertips towards the sky. Maybe you kind of walk your dead bug position like this, alternating opposite hands, opposite leg. And then when you're ready, when you feel like you've had enough of that, let's take a nice long body stretch, reaching the legs long, reaching the arms past the ears, and you can start to rotate the wrists and the ankles. Try rotating them in one direction And then we'll rotate them in the other direction. From here, we're going to take a banana shape. So you can kind of reach your arms over to the left and then walk the legs over to the left, imagining your body is coming into a banana shape. And then see if you can trace the right side of your body from your fingertips down to your heel with your next exhale. Take 2 more soothing breaths like this, breathing in and out through the nose, softly sealing the lips together. Start to listen for the ocean-like quality of your breath. After that last breath, we'll come back to center and then try your banana shape on the other side. So walking the arms over to the right, walking the legs over to the right, and just keeping my right arm down so that I'm not blocking my audio. See if you can take 3 soothing breaths, sweeping down the side of the body from the fingertips all along the arm, the armpit, sideways towards the hip, along the outside edge of the leg down to the heel. And then when you're ready, we'll come back to center. You can bend the knees, plant the feet on the mat, and then we'll press into the heels to lift the spine and lower it down so you can just find yourself in a neutral position. From here, you can walk your feet as wide as the mat and allow the knees to begin to sway from side to side. We call these, in many classes, you'll hear them referred to as windshield wiper legs. And maybe you float your nose in the opposite direction, thinking about what can you softly, gently, gracefully say no to that no longer serves you. What would you like to release today to find more contentment in your life? And then we'll hug the knees in once more once you come back to center. This time, if you'd like, you can bring a block maybe in between the knees, squeezing the block together. Or if you don't have a block, you can, or you don't want to use a block, you can just keep the knees sort of parallel to each other. And then we're going to just do a little core strengthening exercise by allowing the knees to hover over to the right. And then inhale them back to center. Exhale, hover them over to the left. So just very gentle core strengthening side to side. And if you had that block, you could put it in between the knees and squeeze it together. And this might just activate your core a little bit more, with the intention of strengthening the core to support the low back. The next time your knees land on the right, go ahead and leave them there, and we'll open up into a twist, allowing your arms to stretch wide to the sides, allowing your shoulders to relax, and maybe turning your gaze over towards your left hand. Allow yourself to soften into this twist. On the next inhale breath, we'll reach the left fingertips up towards the sky, and then as you exhale, you can roll all the way onto your right side, closing the fingers together. So you're like clapping hands. And then allow your left hand to glide across your chest as you open back up into your twist. And feel free to try this a few more times. If you need more support for underneath the head, you might even bring a block like or a pillow if it felt like your head was too far away from the ground. You don't want to strain your neck. Just a few more rounds, painting a rainbow over the body with your fingertips. Allowing that love, rainbow sparkle to rain down on you. And then the next time you roll all the way onto your side, we're going to stay here on our right side. So you can either prop your head up on your right hand, kind of like a sleepover position, or you could rest your temple on a pillow or on a block, or if it falls to the ground, if that feels okay. I kind of like it on a block on the medium setting. And then we'll try some clamshells to strengthen through the hips. So just really gentle, allowing the heels to glue together. You can lift and lower the top knee. Just doing a little bit of strengthening for the glutes, for the hips. You can bring your left hand either to your hip or maybe you bring it out in front, keeping the rest of the body relatively steady as you gently open and close the top knee. Maybe you can feel that strengthening of your glute, and just like we practice gratitude for Santosha, can you imagine that there is a fountain of gratitude at your heart center? Allow it to overflow with gratitude and find its way into your hip joint, circling the hip joint with gratitude. And then when you're ready, you can close that down. You might bring a fist to your hip and just give it a little gentle, loving pat. You can even bring the knee down towards the ground, kind of stretching through the hip. A little loving massage. And then we're going to unwind from this, coming back onto the back body. You can hug the knees in towards the chest. Plant the feet back down so that you can press into your heels and lift the hips, lengthen the spine, and then allow the spine to drape back down onto the ground. Let's find those windshield wiper knees a little bit here, side to side. And then I'm going to take a moment to spin around so I'm facing you for the other side. We'll start out with those hovering the knees. You can squeeze the knees in towards the chest, maybe even bring the nose up towards the knees, stretching through the upper back, and then go ahead and set the head softly back down, and we'll allow the knees to sway side to side just as we did before. So you can bring the block in between the knees if you like. You can bring the hands out to your side, and then just softly bring the knees from side to side, hovering them over the earth with your feet off of the ground. You can really squeeze the block together with your knees, finding some engagement in the core. And then when you feel ready, we can release the block, roll onto the left side. So your knees are now stacked on the left. Maybe you turn your gaze over to the right and just allow yourself to soften into your twist. Maybe taking a few sighs out through the mouth, releasing any tension or holding in the body. And then when you're ready, turn your gaze over towards your right hand, and we'll inhale to sweep the right fingertips up towards the sky. Exhale as you close that down, reaching your hands towards each other. And then you can glide the left, or yeah, is this the left? No, this is the right hand. Glide the right hand across the chest, opening back up into your twist. Go ahead and find some gentle movements like this, maybe recruiting a pillow for underneath the head if that feels good, or I like to use the block here. Allow yourself to follow the pace of your own breath. And the next time you roll onto your side, we're going to stay here for our clamshells. So gluing the heels together, you can gently lift and lower the top knee away from the bottom knee. See if you can return to that fountain of gratitude at your heart center, allowing it to overflow and circle the hip joint. Maybe finding one, two, or three things that you can feel grateful for in your life. Taking this at the pace of your own breath. When you feel like you've had enough, you can close it down. Maybe give a gentle pat to the hip. You could slide the knees back, bringing the top knee down to the ground to stretch through the hip, IT band. Give it a nice, gentle, soothing rub. And then feel free to roll onto your back and maybe rock and roll up into a seat. Or you can, from here, you can roll all the way over and either come to a seated position or hands and knees. Now, if you're coming to hands and knees and you want extra padding for the knees, you can bring a blanket to create padding for underneath the knees. You could also come off of the wrists by bringing blocks out in front and bringing your forearms onto blocks on the medium setting. So we're going to do some cat and cow, inhaling to drop the belly, exhaling to round into the spine. And as I mentioned, you could do this in a seat or on hands and knees, whatever works best for you. Feel free to explore the various options. You might also find some circles, maybe circling the belly button. Taking your time to explore any places that might have tension or holding. And then when you're ready, you can go the other direction. Maybe there's a particular place of interest that you'd like to hold for a breath. And then when you're ready, we'll come back to tabletop. And from here, let's find a child's pose. So you can walk the knees wide, bring the big toes to touch, sink the hips back, and walk the hands out in front. And if you feel that the floor feels too far away, I really love this quarter dog variation where you can bring maybe start on the left. Well, actually, I just started on the right. The right forearm, you could bring the right forearm down in front of you, rest your forehead on your forearm, and reach the left arm out in front. We'll start on one side, allowing the heavy weight of your head to gently press against your forearm. If you find that you have a busy mind that's floating away to the past or the future, maybe just like cleaning house, notice any thoughts that you are no longer needing or no longer serving you. And you might imagine them falling out of your mind and composting into the ground. If you're resting your forehead on one forearm, go ahead and take a moment to switch sides. And you can always breathe into sensations in the body, coming back into the present moment. Maybe listen for the sound of your soothing Ujjayi breathing. That's the sound of the warrior's breath, closing down the lips softly together, finding a little space in between the jaw, the teeth, allowing your tongue to rest at the roof of your mouth, and then breathing intentionally long, slow, deep breaths through your nose. It's the movement that it would take, the breath that it would take to fog up a mirror. You might listen for that wave-like quality. And then when you're ready, we'll come back up to our tabletop. You can bring the knees the knees underneath the hips. We're going to be coming onto our belly next, so I'm not going to want my blanket underneath me. I'm just going to move that off to the side. And then feel free to come out onto your forearms, walking your knees back. Take a moment to allow your belly to hover over the earth. You might find a little tremble shake here as you strengthen through your core. See if you can keep your belly lifted, and then whenever you're ready, you can land it on the mat, and then go ahead and scoot your legs back so that your feet can untuck and you can plant the tops of the feet on the mat. We'll bring the elbows underneath the shoulders now as we come into a Sphinx position. You might roll your shoulders softly up towards your ears and then glide your shoulder blades down your back. Maybe take a few rounds like this, massaging through the shoulders. On the next inhale breath, allow the shoulder blades to glide down the back as you lift the heart forward. On the next exhale, we'll turn the gaze over the left shoulder. peeking behind you. Inhale back to center and then peek over the right shoulder. Go ahead and feel free to do this 2 more times on each side. Loosening up through the neck. And after that last round, you can stack the palms, lower your forehead down to the back of your hands. Now you have the option to stay right here in your, this is what we call crocodile pose, breathing into the back body. This is a pose that can be recommended. I've heard it recommended for anxiety because it changes how we breathe, breathing more into the back body. So you could stay right here, or maybe you want to try a half frog pose, stretching through the inner thigh. So for half frog, you can stay exactly where you are and then just bend the right knee, bring the left knee out to the side, and maybe you feel a stretch here through the inner thigh. You could stay in a half frog, and then we'll do this on both sides, one at a time. Or if you want to do that both together, you can bring the other knee out to the side and stretch through both legs, coming into a frog position. You can either stay with your head on the back of your hands, or maybe it would feel better to come up onto your forearms for this. Okay to do one at a time. It's maybe less intense. So take a few deep breaths on to the right leg. And when you're ready to switch sides, you can lengthen both legs back and then bring the left knee out to the side, stretching through the inner thigh. Now I want to give you the option to do the frog pose one more time on each side and include a little bit of a thread the needle twist. So for this, you might come up onto your forearms so you can see what I'm doing here. I'm going to bring the right knee out to the right, and then I'm going to thread the right arm under. So I have a block here for this. I'm going to press up onto my left palm. So I'm pressing into my left palm. I have a block for underneath my head, and then I'm just weaving the right arm under for a little bit of a twist, bringing my right temple to the block. Remembering that everything is optional. So if it doesn't feel good, it's too awkward, just feel free to stay with the frog or maybe stay in your Makrasana, breathing long and deep. I actually decided to pick up the block so that it's actually on the high setting for underneath my temple. Take one more nice deep breath wherever you're at, and we'll unwind from this twist and thread the needle, coming onto the belly, releasing the legs, maybe taking a pause in between sides in your crocodile position with your hands stacked. You might even bend the knees and allow the heels to gently windshield wiper here from side to side. And then go ahead and soften the feet down to the ground. We're going to get ready for the other side. So bringing the left knee out to the side in your half frog. You can stay here, or if you want to include that twist, you might press into your right hand, kind of lifting your torso and then thread the left arm under, maybe bringing your temple to rest here on the block. See if you can soften into the position. Where can you relax? Where can you soften? We'll take one more nice deep breath here. You can press into your right hand to free your left arm. Come back into your Sphinx position with your arms and then bring the legs back behind you. Find a crocodile by stacking the palms or lowering the forehead to the back of a block or your hands. And just allow the heels to sway from side to side. When you're ready, we're going to come all the way up to standing next. So to get there, you could press your palms underneath your shoulders, rise up to tabletop, and then either explore downward dog. Now you could use the blocks or chair for downward dog, or simply bring your hands onto blocks, step your left foot forward maybe to come to stand, and then we'll tuck the right toes under. I'm actually even gonna bring my blocks onto the high setting here. So to come up to stand, I'll tuck the back toes under, lift the back knee, and then hop that back foot in to meet the other foot. Then I'll take my feet a little bit wide, and you can wrap your hands around your opposite elbows. Just allow yourself to sway here. So you're either in a downward dog or a forward fold. And then eventually from your downward dog, feel free to meet us in the forward fold by walking or hopping your feet to your hands or your hands towards your feet. As you sway here in your ragdoll, maybe you take a few sighs and lion's breaths out through the mouth. So you might gather up anything you'd like to release and just let it go by roaring it out. Stick out the tongue, scrunch up the nose, scrunch up the eyes, and roar it out. Stretching through the hinge of your jaw. Maybe you take 2 more lion's breath like this. And one more. Then we'll release the hands down to the blocks or down to your shins. You can walk the feet a little bit underneath your hips now, so they're parallel. Press into support to inhale and lift up halfway, lengthening through the spine, lengthening through the neck, keeping a soft, low gaze. And then exhale, release. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release. One more time. And then you can either have your hands on the ground or on blocks. We're going to center the blocks around the right foot. Step the left foot back so that you're in a lunge. And then you can spin that heel down. So we're going to be setting up our strong base of support for warrior one. So your heel is down, your feet are on 2 different train tracks. You can have your back toes pointed out at an angle, maybe towards the corner of your mat, And then bring your hands to your hips. We'll float the torso upright. We're coming into what's called Warrior One or Virabhadrasana One. From here, you can keep your hands resting at your hips, float them to your heart, or reach them up towards the sky, maybe looking up towards the heavens, towards the stars. Allow your shoulders to melt away from your ears. So we're not shrugging up with tension, but allowing for some softness. On the next exhale, we're going to swim the hands back as you float the torso forward. Inhale, sweep it up. Exhale. Just like you're swimming through water, gracefully, slowly. The next time we come up into Warrior One, you can float your hands either down to your hips, interlace your hands at your low back, or this would be an opportunity to grab your strap if you had it, or you could even tug on to the back of your shirt. I'm going to leave my hands at my hips today because I feel like feels like a little much to grasp hands, but that might feel good to you. And then we're going to find Humble Warrior. So we're going to inhale, allow the torso to come and rest on your front thigh, and you could bring your hands to rest on the blocks. It's kind of a reminder in Humble Warrior how sometimes life comes along and gives us unexpected challenges, but maybe you can feel the softness of your torso resting on the strength and stability of your legs. And just like trees communicate with each other and support each other through their root system, perhaps you can feel your feet rooting down, gathering strength from the ground, from your community, remembering that you are not alone. And then we'll pivot onto the ball of the back toes. You can sort of hop that back foot to meet your front foot. And let's try our ragdoll once more. Just allowing yourself to hang heavy, maybe sway here a little bit side to side. And then release your hands onto the blocks. Press into the blocks or into your shins. We'll inhale to lift up halfway, lengthen through the spine. Exhale to forward fold. Inhale to lift up halfway using the strength of your core. Exhale to forward fold. And one more time. This time we're going to frame the left foot. We're going to do that same sequence on the other side. So step the right foot back. You can start out here in a high lunge. And then as soon as you're ready, you can lower the back heel for Warrior One legs. We'll bring the hands to the hips. Use the strength of your core to bring your torso upright. Strong, steady Warrior One with your hands at your hips or at your heart, or float the hands up towards the sky, maybe looking up, gazing up, practicing awe and wonder. What a tremendous gift it is to be here alive today in this time and place. Gazing up at the stars, the mystery, the unknown. And then we're going to float the hands back as we lean the torso forward, remembering to lean in. Inhale, coming up. Exhale, float it forward. Let's do one more round like this. And then on your next exhale, you can float your hands to your hips. You can bring them to interlace behind you. You're going to find that humble warrior. So inhale, lead with your heart, lift your heart, and then hinge forward from your hips. Allow yourself to rest, your torso to rest on your front thigh, coming into humble warrior. Allow your head to bow, feeling soft through your torso. Feel the strong, steady base of your legs rushing to support you. Feel that your legs are so strong because they're supported not only by you, but by the earth, by that strong network, the community. You are not alone. And when you're ready, if you have your hands resting on your hips or behind you, you can bring them down to your blocks, pivot onto the ball of the back foot, and then we'll hop that foot forward to find our forward fold. You can shake your head no, releasing that which no longer serves you, and then nod your head yes, thinking about inviting in new exciting opportunities. And then we'll come into a downward facing dog. The request was for pigeon. So for pigeon, I'm going to want my blanket. I'm going to roll up the blanket into a roll and put it on the center of my mat. That's going to go for underneath my hips. So and actually, you know what I realized I also want to recruit is a big bolster. So if you have a pillow, now remember, instead of pigeon, you can always skip pigeon and do a figure four lying on your back. So I'll bring the bolster out in front, and that'll be a nice bit of support. I'm feeling like I need to straighten out my mat here. Okay. So for pigeon, I'll start out in a downward dog on the blocks, and then I'm going to bring my right knee. Actually, I feel like I need the blanket off to the side, really. My right knee towards my right hand, slide the left knee back, and then I'll bring the blanket as a wedge for underneath my right hip. And then because I have this nice big bolster, I can stack it on top of the blocks and then lay my torso on the bolster, stacking the palms or stacking the fists to make a little pillow to rest my forehead. Now, if pigeon doesn't feel like the right pose for you, feels too intense, feel free to come to lying on your back, and then we can try figure four pose instead. So that's going to be crossing the right ankle over the left thigh and then drawing your shape into you. It looks like a figure four. Allow yourself to find whatever position is going to support you today. Coming back to that jewel of Santosha, contentment. Contentment invites us to find refuge in a calm center. Maybe even in this place, the eye of the hurricane, where the world might feel like it's moving around us. We can take refuge in this calm center, the center of our own creation. Not allowing ourselves to be tossed around by our preferences, all the things we cannot control. Notice where you can soften and come back to your breath. Anytime your monkey mind starts to take over with fear of the future or thoughts of the past, just softly, gently notice, using this idea of this tool of mindfulness to observe your thoughts and see if you can intentionally let them go. Let's go ahead and take one more nice deep breath in either pigeon or figure four. Sending your breath down into your hip joint. And then you can transition by rolling onto your right hip, maybe moving some of your props out of the way and setting up for the other side. So to set up for the other side, I might start out in tabletop, move the blanket roll over to the left side, so that'll support my left hip now. And then you can come into a downward facing dog. Bring the left knee towards the left heel, or left wrist, sorry, as you slide the right hand back behind you. And then you can wedge that blanket or any other kind of support that you might have, a pillow underneath the left hip. You could start out in an upright pigeon. And then if it feels good to you, go ahead and allow your torso to lower down. Maybe you bring your forearms onto blocks. You might stack fists to bring your forehead down. Or this is the reason why I grabbed this nice big bolster, is to bring a support, maybe resting one cheek on the pillow or bolster. And I have my bolster on two blocks, so that's even bringing the floor further up to me. And this might be an analogy we can think of recruiting help. We're not in this alone. We can ask for help. We can ask for support. The support of our props can be an analogy for off of the mat. Really, we're practicing these poses on the mat so that when life gets difficult off of the mat, we have tools. The tool of our breath, the tool of practicing bringing our awareness back into our body, back into the present moment. Practice focusing our intention. Take a moment to travel back into your heart center, noticing that intention, maybe picturing it as a glowing jewel. See if that allows you to let go of all the other thoughts. Maybe they're intrusive thoughts. thoughts of the past or plans for the future. We bring ourselves back into the present moment by focusing on our breath, directing our breath towards the sensations in our body. Practicing compassion and curiosity as we bring ourselves back to our intention. Can we find contentment? Santosha. Take one more nice deep breath on the side, and then when you feel ready, you can press yourself up. We'll clear off some of these props. You can remove the blanket roll from out from underneath you and come onto your seat. And then we'll just allow the knees to gently windshield wiper here from side to side. To continue to practice Santosha, I thought we would come into a restorative shape. And so there is a whole entire like arm of yoga or style of yoga, I should say, that's called restorative yoga. And we're practicing more of a, I would call this a gentle yoga, right? Like maybe hatha yoga is really what we're practicing. But the idea is that we can um, find a restorative shape and stay in it for a little while. So, and this could also just be an extended shavasana flat on your back. But since I have this nice big bolster here, and maybe you have a pillow or a blanket you could roll up into a bigger roll, I thought we would do a little bit of a heart opener and a guided meditation. This is a loving kindness meditation. So there's a lot of different ways in which you can do this. Maybe you can take your blanket and drape it over the body. You can extend the legs long or keep your knees on the mat. Since I have this big round bolster, I'm going to use this, but you could also use, like I said, a pillow or a blanket to bring that bolster underneath the heart center. And then I'll bring the block really on the high setting for underneath my head and then drape my arms at the sides. If this is comfortable, if this feels good, that's the whole idea of a restorative yoga position, is to find comfort, to find ease. You could also use the shape we did last week, which was the reclined butterfly, where you make a pillow like ramp to rest your back. Let's see if I can show you another variation in case you don't have a big round bolster like this. This is actually like a supported fish position. So I can take the blocks and stack them here, bring one block right against my shoulder blades, and then the other block underneath the head, and rest like this on the blocks. If none of these positions are working for you and they feel uncomfortable, don't lie to yourself about it. Be honest. If you cannot make yourself comfortable, you're not going to be able to probably calm your nervous system, and that's really the whole goal. So if none of these back bends feel supportive or comfortable, if it's making you feel anxious, then just allow yourself to come flat on your back, or maybe to the pose we started class in, constructive rest, because that can be gentle on your back as well, with your knees bent and your feet flat on the mat. So, whatever shape you land in, come into a bit of a guided meditation called a loving kindness meditation. Once you arrive in your comfortable position, allow your eyes to close or your gaze to soften. Allow your ears or your shoulders to melt away from your ears the other way. And just practice some slow, deep breathings. Say to yourself, we practice what's called a mantra. These are just phrases, positive phrases we can say to ourselves. May I be happy. May I be at ease. May I be free from suffering. If you choose, you can continue to softly hear those mantras in your mind. Take a moment to bring someone to mind who you feel grateful for in your life. And say to yourself, just as I wish to be happy, may you be happy. May you be at ease. May you be free from suffering. Continue to send those well wishes. May you be happy. May you be at ease. May you be free from suffering. And then find a neutral person that you can focus your attention on. Maybe somebody in the supermarket, somebody you don't know, you don't have any feelings towards this person. Just as you wish to be happy, at ease, and free, you can start to send them this loving kindness. May you be happy. May you be at ease. May you be free from suffering. As you continue to repeat these phrases, you might Notice this glowing bit of energy growing at your heart center. And then bring to mind somebody you might have negative, conflicting feelings about, somebody you've had strife with. Just as you wish to be happy, at ease, and free of suffering, can you send this loving kindness now to this person? May you be happy. May you be at ease. May you be free from suffering. Slow, deep breathing. Now allow that loving energy to grow. Expand it to your community. May everyone in your community have this well-wishing from you. May you be happy. May you be at ease. May you be free from suffering. Allow this loving energy to grow out from your community. Now allow it to expand to all of the people in your state. May you be happy. May you be at ease. May you be free from suffering. Expand that loving kindness towards all the people in your nation. Each and every person, may you be happy. May you be at ease. May you be free from suffering. And finally, enough loving kindness for the rest of the world, embracing the whole entire planet in your loving kindness meditation. May all beings be happy. May all beings be at ease. May all beings be free from suffering. We can often let our contentment be managed by uncontrollable variables. As long as we think satisfaction comes from an external source, we can never be content. Looking outward for fulfillment will always disappoint us and keep contentment one step out of reach. True freedom and contentment begin to find their way to us when we can see things as they are, neutral, and not spend so much energy manipulating things according to our own preferences. I am reminded of the wisdom of a 116-year-old man who, when asked the secret to his longevity, replied, "When it rains, I let it." It is not easy in this culture to stay contented. So, how do we get there and how do we stay there? Practicing gratitude protects us from our own pettiness and smallness and keeps us centered in the joy and abundance of our own life. When situations pull at us and disturbance beckons us, it is the gratitude uttered from our own lips that keeps us strongly rooted in contentment. Take a moment to imagine 3 things that you feel grateful for, and then let them go. Allow yourself to surrender into the stillness of your final resting pose. Start to deepen your breath now. Send your breath down towards your fingers and down towards your toes. Start to wiggle your fingers and toes, gently rotating your wrists and your ankles. Take a nice long body stretch, reaching your arms past your ears. And then when you feel ready, you can roll onto one side, coming into a fetal position here, resting your head on your upper arm. Take a moment to pause here for 3 slow, soft, nice, deep breaths. The rest of this week, you might contemplate the words of Swami Rama. Contentment is falling in love with your own life. When you feel ready, you can press yourself up into a seat. Maybe you invite your hands to meet at your heart center in a gesture of gratitude. Allowing your heart to lift towards your hands, you can gently bow your head towards the wisdom of your ever-loving heart. It's such an honor and a privilege to have this opportunity to guide you through your practice. And we can say together, Om Shanti, 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 which means peace, peace, peace. Feel free to stick around if you have any thoughts or questions about class, and I'll turn off the recording.